did. This was the week one, and I'm very much aware that we're unable to get the ball rolling. But here we are, week number 5. We're already a month into football season. I can't believe how time flies, and I really want to savor this moment because I know once January and February hit, it'll be depression all over again. So I'm happy now, but I'm sure I'll be sad later.
Yeah, it's only down from here.
Yeah, exactly. It just gets worse. So before we even make any of our bold predictions and stuff like that, I just wanted to get your, I guess, hot take from any action last week. What was your thoughts from any games or any teams?
Ooh, that's a heavy question. Oh boy, Baltimore. I think my hot take. I think Baltimore goes for Devontae and they make a run. They're that one guy away from being a Super Bowl favorite, and I think Devontae's the guy. Don't be shocked. Don't be shocked to see him in that purple and black.
That would be pretty wild to see. I know I did see a post earlier, or I guess when I woke up, about how there were three teams that could possibly be trade candidates for Adams. Washington was a possibility, and I'm surprised
Ooh.
they're doing as well as they are. And then the other two were, I think I saved the picture, but I know one of them was the Jets only because obviously reuniting with Aaron Rodgers. But I don't know. Sorry, the Saints because of Derek Carr. And obviously, I'm sure he went to Vegas because of Derek Carr.
Yeah.
And I know his family as well there. But I was very surprised that he wanted out of Vegas. I mean, they're 2-2. It's not like they're 0-4. So if they could get their what together, they could still be a good team. But clearly, he has his issues and his differences. So
It's all quarterback play from what I've seen. I mean, I've watched my fair share of Raiders games. I don't know if you have, but I mean, the poor guy, he's open damn near every play, but Minshew can't hit him. It's bad. Like I don't know. I've never seen anyone open as often as he is, but not get the ball. It's like Minshew's not even looking for him.
the thing that blows my mind about Minshew is that I think this is like his third team. I remember he got drafted as the starting quarterback for Jacksonville, and I'm sure he went somewhere else before coming to Vegas. But there's probably a reason why he has been on 3 different teams. It's not because he's so great the team can't handle him that they whatever it is, but like it's just been inconsistency. Like he wasn't that great with Jacksonville, and then wherever he was before he came to Vegas. So isn't there other quarterback like a sophomore? Like, because they had a rookie quarterback last year, didn't they?
Yeah, Aiden O'Connell's their
That's what I
backup
thought.
right now. He's the second year, and Minshew is like Jacoby Brissett. He's never going to be a starting quarterback, but
Yep.
he's your bridge quarterback between your previous starter and your rookie who's coming up.
Yeah.
They kind of play that role of like the 1 to 2 year quarterback. They mentor the guy and then he plays, which both situations you have O'Connell behind Minshew and then you have May behind Brissett. So it could be one of those situations, but I don't know.
So I just wanted to ask before we get into this. So I remember last year, or at the end of the season, you're making some bold predictions for this year, and I know like the Browns are your team, but what are your thoughts after the first 4 weeks of the season?
For the Browns?
Yeah.
Pitiful. I've never been more upset in the first month of the season. Like last week, I mean, I was like jumping out of my chair. Like, oh, the Raiders. Oh boy, I don't know. It's hard to see. First couple weeks, I really thought it was Deshaun.
Yeah.
But then, we work every second weekend here, so it's like I don't get to see every full game.
Yep.
But I was trying to watch, some highlights and more game film on it.
Yep.
And man, the guy has no time. Zero. He has no time to throw. Cooper's dropping 90% of the balls that touch his hands. Like his interception last week. No, that's Amari Cooper's interception. It hit him right in the mitts. And the more I look at it, there's a lot more going wrong than just Watson. Defense, you're cool. I'm okay with them. But the offense, there's so many issues, and maybe Chubb coming back is the glue that we need. But man, it's I'm not happy and looking forward to the future right now.
No, and I can understand why you'd be upset, especially because there was such high expectation for this team going forward.
Mhm.
And it's not like it was a fluke that last year they made the playoffs. They had a really good season. Obviously, Deshaun got hurt; he wasn't able to play. But I can understand from a team from someone who's had like a decade of suffering. Yes, I can empathize to say the least. But I mean, it's not like the season's over. They still have a long ways to go.
Yeah.
They can get this ship back on track. There's no question about it. But like you said, if Deshaun's not getting enough time, not getting enough protection, I mean, yes, he is a mobile quarterback, but he shouldn't be running for his life every single snap. I mean, I know that like if you want to have a good offense, you need a good O line. With that being said, if their defense on the other side is just that much stronger, you could have the best O line in the entire league, but if their defense is that much better, like you really can't crap on your O line. I mean, these guys are big guys, but I mean they can get pushed back. So, I mean, I remember when Garrett Bowles first came into the league, he was trashed for the first like 4 or 5 seasons because every game it was always a holding penalty. It was always inconsistency. He has matured. He has gotten better, and I'm very grateful for that. But it's a learning curve to say the least. Like maybe you have to double team. Maybe you have to get your running back on a couple of blocks. Maybe you have to get your tight ends to help out as well. Maybe, there are some defensive players that you have to double team. They're just that strong. So
Yeah.
you can't really crap on the O-line, but at the same time, that's their job is to protect the quarterback. So
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the issue right now is our whole offensive line is injured, so it's all rookies and backups.
yeah,
Like these guys have never played together before. They're all practice squad or, the the backups. But yeah, I don't think we have a single starter healthy right now.
and the thing is, I know that old saying is every time someone gets hurt, it's next man up, but it's almost impossible, if not extremely hard, to replace someone, especially if they're gone. It doesn't matter if they're gone for a game or several weeks. It's if you're not prepared, it's hard to be that guy that you're filling the shoes in for.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm sure they'll turn things around. They have to. I mean, they're paying Watson all that crazy amount of money. They gotta win, man.
I sure hope so. The things that you could do with that money in free agency. Oh, you know how many holes you can fill with 200 and whatever million?
Yep.
All of them.
You could get a whole roster for $200 million.
That's what I mean.
Also, before we get into the picks, I'll say this last thing. So I know last week I was really bold. I predicted a lot of away teams to win, and I was absolute trash. I finished 8-8. It wasn't terrible, but before that I was like 11-5, 13-3. So I was doing good, and then for some reason week 4 I was like, let's be a little bold, and it couldn't have bit me in the ass more than it has. But going into week number 5, I got 43 right and 21 wrong. So I'm still 22 games above 500, which is pretty good. But last week, I definitely took the L, to say the least, when it came to my little bold predictions.
So you said you were 43 and 21?
Yeah, heading into week number 5.
I think you got one game on me here. I don't know. Can I exit the app here? I don't know.
You can try.
Am I here?
Yeah, you're still here.
Oh yeah, I'm 41 and 23.
Wow. Damn.
So you're 2 games ahead of me.
Well, let's see how we do in week number 5. So,
but that's probably my fault for taking the Browns every week. But I apologize.
Man, the one thing that burned me the first 3 weeks was I always pick Cincy the first 3 weeks. So last week I picked the Panthers because I was like, Andy Dalton's probably want to have a little chip on his shoulder, being the starting quarterback, going up against his former team. And since he rolled all over the Panthers, so I feel like I always pick certain teams, and then they burn me so many times, and then when I finally pick them, or when I go against them, that's when it ends up biting me in the ass. So it's very hard and very inconsistent because, like, for Cincinnati, and I know they're a hated team when it comes to being a Browns fan, but there's high expectations for this team to do better, and the fact that they're 1-3, the same position as you guys, is absolutely insane when you have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase on the team.
Yeah, 100%. You got to do better. It's simple.
Very simple. Luckily, the division's still pretty wide open. I mean, yes, you guys are still 1-3. Steelers are 3-1, but I mean, they go on a 2-game losing streak. You guys go on a 2-game winning streak. You could be top or tied for that division. And the Ravens are 2-2, so they're only a game ahead of both of those squads respectively. So
I'm not worried about Pittsburgh. They're a 500 team. Get out of here. They'll finish 9-8. All right.
They'll still finish above 500. I still think it's mind blowing that in the entire tenure Mike Tomlin's been head coach, he's never been below 500.
9-8. Watch, and he'll get praised for it again every year. 9-8.
So heading into week number 5, we finally have our first buys of the season. Detroit, they have their week off. They're 3-1. LA, the Chargers are 2-2. The Eagles are 2-2, and the Titans are 1-3. So there's only 14 games for this upcoming week. We might as well just dive into the Thursday night matchup, a division matchup, I should say. Before I make my bold prediction, I want to hear your thoughts between the Falcons, who are 2-2, and the Buccaneers, who had a huge win. They're 3-1.
You want to know my thoughts?
Yeah.
I want Baker back. All right. I said it since the day he left. The Browns. All right, I'm not part of this.
Yep.
The Browns did him so dirty. I will never forgive that team for just kicking him to the curb and taking a chance on somebody who hasn't played in 2 years.
Yep.
I can't get it into my head why that's a good idea. So happy for Baker, though.
He's done terrific since he left town. So I'm going to take a wild guess that if you had to make a prediction, do you see Mayfield going into Hotlanta and picking up a dub? Yep.
100%. I'm thinking it's going to be a high-scoring affair, though. Kirko is going to be balling, I think. I'm thinking like a 400-yard performance out of Kirk.
Oh, my God. That would be wild.
Oh, yeah.
If you had to say a score, what do you think it might be?
I'm going 31-17.
31-17. Okay. Well, in favor of Tampa or
yeah, Tampa's winning.
Tampa. Okay, sorry. So I want to pick Tampa. I really do because I bet against them last week. Obviously, they destroyed the Eagles. But there's just something about Kurt and that infamous line. You like that? And I feel like he's going to have a little something like that to prove. And now that he's home, I say Atlanta pulls this one off. Whenever it comes to division matchups, I think they could be a lot closer than what they actually will be. So I think it's going to be like a 24-21 final score.
Could I bump mine one more touchdown to 24?
31-24?
Yeah.
Sure, sounds good. I'll scratch up to 17, but 24. I think it will be a one-score game, whether it's a touchdown or a field goal.
Yeah.
Just that obviously these two teams are only a game apart. Tampa's first, Atlanta's second. So obviously if Atlanta picks up this win, they would take over first place in that division, pending on the New Orleans game as well. So this next one's very intriguing because I think the rest of the matchups are Sunday and then the last one's Monday respectively. Has the 4-0 Vikings taking on the 2-2 Jets.
Oh boy. The Jets do not look good. One bit. I mean, last week, what was it? Breece Hall had he averaged 1.2 yards a carry, or something atrocious like that.
Yep.
Rodgers wasn't throwing the ball any better. I mean, it's not looking good right now. The Vikings are probably the hottest team in the league. I don't see the Jets slowing them down at this point. I'm taking the Vikings for sure.
Cool. I agree with you. And if you wanted to be a little crazy, what would you say the score might possibly
be? Where is it?
In Minnesota.
Ooh. Let's go No field goals for the Vikings. 28.
Yep.
Go 28-13.
28-13. Fantastic. I'm going to say 21-9 in favor of the Vikings. I think the Jets,
Ooh.
if they couldn't get a touchdown against my Broncos, I think they'll have an even tougher time against the Vikings. So I'm going to say they get 3 field goals for the second week in a row.
All right, I like it.
Now, for a team that you're rocking their jersey, the Chicago Bears 2-2, taking on the Carolina Panthers, who are 1-3.
I mean, this is probably the easiest pick of the week. Give me the Bears. You seen it last week. Caleb is starting to feel it a little bit. He's found DJ Moore for his first touchdown with him. I think they're going to get going. I don't see any bright side to these Panthers.
It's a shame because there was a lot of hype behind Bryce Young, but unfortunately he just has not lived up to that expectation. He's had a very poor record after this his rookie and going into his sophomore season, and now he's lost the starting job to Andy Dalton. So I think it's going to be really a tough year for the Panthers. I know they only had 2 wins last year. They might honestly get 2 or 3 wins again this year. I think they're in a rebuild. We'll put it that way. So I find it very hard for them to be very competitive. I will also go with the Bears, but before I make my prediction for a score, what do you think the final will be?
I mean, let's go Panthers 7. One score in the game.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it's going to be a big game for Caleb Williams, I think. Against that defense, yeah. Let's go 34-7.
34-7, an absolute blowout, man.
Oh yeah, just destruction.
I don't know if you have seen the clip, but it was when the Bears and the Texans played. I think it was a couple weeks ago, and you saw like C.J. Stroud was trying to talk to Caleb Williams, and it looked like Williams had no interest in listening to C.J. Stroud because he was just so pissed off with his performance and how the team is doing. But just like you said just a couple minutes ago, this team seems to kind of be gelling now and actually working. The defense looks okay. Their offense is clicking. So I think they can possibly get on a bit of a roll, and they could surprise a lot of teams. I still don't know if they're going to be good enough to make the playoffs, but I think they'll be better than they were last year. With that being said, I still think that the Bears are going to win this one easily. I'm going to say 27-10.
Oh, yeah. Good split there. Good split.
Alrighty. So now we just finished talking about this team, and it is in your AFC North division. So I'm sure you'd love for both these teams just to have a tie, but the Ravens are heading into Cincinnati. The Ravens are 2-2. The Bengals, as I mentioned before, are 1-3.
Oh boy. Is it in Baltimore? Cincinnati. Is this the game that Joe Burrow finally turns it around? Yes, it is. We're taking the Bengals in this one. I'm thinking they're going to get hot at some point, and against a divisional rival, it's going to be tough, but I think they squeak it out. It's going to be real tight. I'm going 27-24.
Perfect. 27-24. I'm going to say 23-20. I honestly think it is going to be like a 3-point game. Could come down to like a last-second field goal or a defensive stand for the Bengals, but they need this win more than anything. I feel that obviously the Ravens on paper should be the better team. Obviously, the defending AFC North champions, and like Baltimore, they are clicking. They obviously won 2 in a row, but when it goes into enemy territory, I feel that maybe the Bengals should be able to squeeze this one out. And like you said, if they can get this win, then they can finally maybe get back to the team that everybody expected. But if the Bengals lose this one, oh boy, is there going to be a lot of finger pointing, to say the least.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of questions that need to be answered if you start off that bad.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not impossible to come back from 1-4 to possibly get above 500, but I'm sure it'd be very difficult because you'd have to go on a 4 or 5 game winning streak just to get back above 500, and by that time the race for the wild card could be pretty much in the books at that point. So the next one has 2 teams that are 3-1. We have the Houston Texans, who are at home taking on the Buffalo Bills.
That's a big game. but Stephon Diggs is playing against his former team. So we're taking the Texans.
Sounds good.
I love what I'm seeing out of their offense right now.
Yep.
Stroud, he's a little iffy at times right now. He's a little streaky, it seems, but
Yep.
when you go into a game like this against the Bills, who are one of the top teams in the AFC in the league,
Yep.
it's gonna be a high power. There's gonna be a lot of high flying action. Diggs will probably have at least a touchdown, probably 2. Nico Collins is gonna go absolutely nuts. And also watch out for Josh Allen. 2 rushing touchdowns. Watch it.
Sounds good.
It's gonna be a big game. We're going 38-35.
Wow. High scoring affair.
Houston's taking it.
Houston's taking this matchup. Sounds good.
Yeah.
I honestly think this could possibly be the game of the week. Like these two are like very good offenses. Obviously, CJ Stroud is fantastic. I will say this that I think it was back in week 3 because I have all the scores and stuff written down. That Houston got stomped by Minnesota 34-7, but then they obviously bounced back last week against the Jaguars. But I mean, I feel like anybody can beat the Jaguars at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, and I said this, I think when we did our first video, that I think like for Buffalo, this is especially after losing last week, that they like. I don't want to say their window is closing when it comes to being a potential championship team, but it's definitely like they're in the win now mode. They can't wait another 5-6 years to possibly be contenders because at that point Allen will be in his mid-30s and who knows how much longer he's going to have at that point. But I think they're going to Houston. It's going to be a close game. I think it will be both squads possibly getting to almost 30 points plateau. But I think the Bills take this one on the road. I'll say, you know what? It'll be a similar score to yours. I still think it's going to be like a 3 or 4 point game. I'll say 34-30.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah. I think it's going to be very close. I don't see the Bills blowing up the Texans, and I don't see the Texans blowing up the Bills. Like I just think both teams are extremely talented. That I think it'll be like neck and neck. Now we're staying in the AFC South, and it's funny that I just talked about the Jaguars, who are still winless, going up against the Colts, who are 2-2. Before I get into their predictions, I saw an interesting stat. The last time the Jaguars won a game was Week 12 of last year. Is that streak finally going to come to an end, or do you think that they're still going to be winless in October?
If Anthony Richardson plays the Colts, that's the issue here. If he doesn't play, then probably the Jags. I don't know if Flacco can lead an offense for a full game right now. But as it stands, I'm going to go off hoping that Richardson plays, and I'm going to take the Colts.
Okay.
Trevor Lawrence is a fraud.
And it's so crazy because just like 2 years ago, they made the playoffs, and I think they went to the divisional round against the Chiefs. And ever since then, they just have not been the same. And I think it was last year, they had the lead in the AFC South until like they collapsed. I think they lost like their last 5 games, and then they were just out of the playoffs. So how do you go from such a high to a low in one season is absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah, I don't understand what happened, but at this point, you can't say that they're going to win against a team like the Colts. So
no. And I firmly believe if Richardson does start, and he should get the start, that Indy should pull this one off. I mean, hell, even if Flacco played, I know you said they probably don't win with Flacco, but I mean, he pulled off an upset over the undefeated Steelers last week. So whether they start Flacco or whether they start Richardson, I still say Indy goes into Jacksonville, and I say they spank the Jaguars. I think the fans leave by like the third quarter. I'm going to say it's 31-14.
Oh wow! I was gonna go 27-17.
27-17. There we go. I think that their patience in Jacksonville is definitely going to be winding very thin if they don't get a win here pretty soon.
Yeah.
Off to another division matchup. This is in the AFC East. The two teams that are definitely playing poor. One obviously is suffering because their quarterback is out. The Patriots are playing host to the Dolphins. Both these teams are 1-3.
In New England?
Yep.
It's early enough in the year. Dolphins are probably going to win this one.
Okay.
They'll probably squeak it out. Ooh. Oh boy. I did not like what I saw last week.
From the Dolphins?
Give me the Patriots.
All right, sounds good.
I'm taking the Patriots at home. I did not like what I saw last week. The offense can't function without Tua.
No.
Not even the running game was working. At home, too. That was the worrisome bit, is the run didn't even work at home. So, yeah, let's go Patriots. Very tight game on this one. We're going 17-14.
17-14, sounds good. I think the Patriots do get this one. I think they definitely get to 17, but without Tua at the helm, I don't see how, unless the Miami has a crazy run game or unless Hill can go for like 100+ yards, I don't even think the Dolphins get a touchdown in this one. I honestly think it's going to be like a 17-6 game. I'm going to be bold on this one. I know it probably sounds insane because they didn't even score a touchdown last week against the winless Titans. So if you can't beat a winless team, how do you expect to go into Foxborough and beat a Patriots team? Yes, the Patriots aren't as great as they used to be, but it's hard for me to go with the Dolphins. Now, obviously, if Tua was healthy, it'd be Dolphins all day. But without their starting quarterback, like we discussed at the start, if you lose somebody, it's hard to replace them. And I'm sorry, but Shaq Thompson is not the answer at quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't think Tyreek's even going to have a good game because I don't know if you've heard, but there's Christian Gonzalez. I don't know if you've heard about this guy, but boy, oh boy, he's locked down every number one receiver in the league. Like, if you look against who the Patriots play, when he's one-on-one in coverage, he doesn't lose against the top receivers in the league. So I can see Hill. I mean, if Gonzalez covers him the whole game, Hill might only have 3 catches.
That's insane. And it's crazy to think that, yes, the defenseman is obviously a younger guy compared to Hill, who's a veteran. But if you can shut down Tyreek Hill, you can prevent him from having a breakout game. You're doing a very good job.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, and it's so crazy because I remember at the start of the season, I was watching like some videos on the NFL, and like the Dolphins were favored to possibly even win the AFC East because they were that close to getting it last year. And then ultimately they lost in Week 18 to the Bills. But man, to go from such a high expectation to, you'd be lucky if you get above 500 this year because who knows when or if Tua is even coming back.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if I was the coach of the Dolphins, I'm not letting Tua play again.
Why? There's nothing good can come out of putting him back in. He had 2 concussions last season, and he had him back-to-back weeks, and now he's got a third. And before he got drafted, I guess he had injuries in college. This isn't new for him at all. So the Dolphins, it was like a high-risk, high-reward kind of a thing, but man, it's turning into like a very high-risk move at this point.
Yeah, I mean, at what point is it not worth it anymore? And I think this is the point. He has a family. He already has kids. He has a wife. He's already made enough money. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. It's over.
And the crazy thing is, I remember reading a couple of the articles, and they were talking about how it wouldn't be out of the possibility for him to retire. And I know it would screw the Dolphins because they owe him so much money. But you got to think of the long term. And like I remember there was so much controversy when Luck retired at a young age. I think he only played like 5 or 6 seasons, and he called it quits because he wanted to focus on his mental health. And like you said, everyone's got families nowadays. So if he ends up retiring, yes, it's going to suck for the Dolphins, but they got to stop thinking selfishly, especially if you're a fan. You got to stop thinking, oh, he's just being a pussy. He's just being a baby. He doesn't want to play. If you take too many hits to the noggin, like you could be brain dead.
Yeah, I mean, it's in my opinion, it's pretty simple. At the end of the day, they're still people.
Yeah.
right? Like let's say I don't know, Bob from down the street goes to work and gets hit in the head with a cinder block 3 times throughout the course of a year and a half and gets a concussion. Should he go back to that same workplace? Probably not. But, that's just my take on it. At the end of the day, you got to take care of yourself.
Well, that's just it. And I know they locked him into a long-term contract and they owe him a lot of money, but as you just finished saying, I feel like we're probably just going to be going back and forth and saying it in circles. But like, you got to think about yourself when it comes to this kind of stuff. You can't think about the team. You can't be like, oh, I'm going to let the team down if I don't come back and play. Okay, well, what happens if you do have a good career, but then you end up doing something crazy outside of work? There's been plenty of guys that have died, whether it's suicide, whatever it is. I remember I watched this documentary. I just want to say this one quick thing before we get back into our picks. I watched this documentary. It was actually about like the wrestling from like the 90s and 2000s, and then they didn't take head injuries serious. But now, obviously, with any sports, it's very serious. And I mean, they never had a protocol in the 90s and 2000s on the sideline. If you got hit in the head, you just shook it off and you went back in there. And think about how many players have retired from the National Football League and they've done something tragic or they've done something crazy or they've taken their life because they're all messed up in the head. So for anyone that's saying, oh, they're being this or they're being whatever, it's like you're not even thinking. Like, use your brain. Like, they don't have one clearly because they're not with us or they're long gone. So
yeah,
whenever people try to act like, oh, well, they can just shake it off. This isn't the 90s. This isn't like the 80s where you got hit and you're basically half dead, but you still walked on the field. So,
yeah. I mean, in addition to that, I've been seeing a lot of, tweets or posts, whatever, about the I don't know if you've seen, but the Guardian caps that players are wearing in games. It's like it makes your helmet look a little bit different. You look a little bulkier, but honestly, as a fan, I don't really care. You can't notice it from watching on your TV. It's gonna prolong these guys' careers. So why not?
I absolutely agree. I know whenever they have their off-season training, you see them with their giant, how they look like bobbleheads, if anything. But if it's going to protect them in the long run, I say go for it. What do you have to lose? Like you just finished saying, if they're going to prolong their career and they're not going to have to worry about any post-traumatic experiences after they're done retiring, I say I don't care if it looks goofy. If it's going to protect their noggin, you only got one brain.
Oh yeah, yeah. So, it's not like something like whatever, a kidney transplant. You can't get a brain transplant, really. You can't. So, yeah, that's my take on that.
Sounds good. I didn't mean to go on a tirade about that, but I felt like I just had all this built up inside of me. I'm like, I got to just express it somehow. So, all right, let's get back into the picks. So, the Washington Commanders are 3-1, taking on your Cleveland Browns 1-3. What's your take on this matchup?
For the first time this season, I am picking against my team. I am taking the Commanders.
Sounds good.
And of no score prediction.
Okay, I won't even touch that one, but I think the Commanders get this one. I think it's going to be a one-score game. Even though Washington is very good, I think it's going to be like 27-21. I think, honestly, it could come down to a last-second stop by the Commanders' defense, who they have proven that they are decent this year, but it's just because of the inconsistency and, like you said, the injuries that are piling up. It definitely plays a factor in how teams fare, and I don't want to bet against the Browns, but they have shown me that they can pull off this, considering they haven't won in 2 weeks. So I don't want to be disrespectful to the team you play for, but it's just hard for me to pick them when they have been so inconsistent for the first month.
Yeah, and you know what? Put it down, 17-7. That's what it's gonna be.
Okay.
Deshaun ain't throwing that. I promise you that. If anything, he'll run it in, but it'll be a rushing touchdown. And I hope, I pray that I am wrong. Please shut me up. Please.
Well, I mean, if you guys want to get back into contention, I know we talked about this before. That yes, teams have been below 500 at some point in the season and climbed their way. But just like when we talked about the Bengals, if your team's off to 1-4, it's hard to get out of that basement because now you have to go on a 4-game winning streak just to get back to above 500. And by that time, other teams could already be 6-2, 7-1. It's like, well, good luck trying to catch up to those guys.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You can't get too far gone.
No, not exactly. Alrighty, now for probably my favorite pick for this upcoming week, we have the Broncos who are playing host to the Vegas Raiders. So before I just take my predictions, let's see your thoughts.
What's our policy on what kind of language we could use on this live?
Well, YouTube hasn't sent me anything just yet, so I think we're okay for now.
Big Dick Nix is going in there, and he's running this shit. Simple.
I love it.
So, I mean, it's that simple. I think he got that win last week. He's coming out with some fire. Again, it's a division matchup. Is this their first division matchup?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to be in that atmosphere. I think he's going to be taking some chances deep. Might throw a pick or two, but that's okay. He's going to get the job done. Probably a close game, however, divisional matchup. Let's go 24-21.
Sounds good. 24-21. I will say this, that one thing that's always impressed me with the Broncos over the last couple of seasons, they've always had a good defense. They're just their offense has never been able to click. And obviously we had that Russell Wilson experiment, and that was absolute trash. But I'm with you. I absolutely love Bo. I think he will be the face of the franchise. Yes, he has struggled, but I mean, what rookie quarterback hasn't struggled in their first year? I mean, we've talked about Caleb Williams, how he didn't look like he should even be in the league after the first 2 games, but now he's finally starting to gel, and I know he will have a successful career. As for Bo, I don't think he'll blow everyone away because it's hard for him to get a long completion. I don't think he's had a very he may have had 20 or 30 yards, but you're not going to throw a 60-yard bomb to Sutton. You know what I mean? It's maybe at some point he can.
You might see one this week.
I would love to. I'll say this. I would love if he can throw a long bomb, but he's got legs, and if he can rush and if he can run, and I feel like quarterbacks nowadays, especially how we just talked about the injuries and stuff like that, and head injuries, they're so much smarter when it comes to protecting themselves. You no longer see guys diving head first or going after a defensive lineman because that can just spell trouble. A lot of them, they'll slide down, they'll run out of bounds. They're very smart and they're very aware of their surroundings. So if Bo can run and he can be healthy and he can play very well, I think this could be a 24-17 contest. I absolutely love the Broncos. I did some calculations. The first 4 games, they've averaged only giving up about 13 points a game. Yes, they gave up 26 to Seattle, but since then they only gave up 9 to the Jets, which was unreal. I think they only gave up 10 to the Buccaneers. They only gave up a touchdown to the Buccaneers the week prior to that. So their defense, it's never been a problem for me. It's just always been their offense, whether it's been inconsistency at running back, quarterback, receivers, or the O-line hasn't fared that well at times. So but I think for the first time in a long time, for the first 4 weeks, I'm not going to lie to you, I never picked the Broncos. I always picked against them, and the last 2 weeks they burned me, so I'm finally back on the wagon. I'm finally back on the Broncos wagon, and I think they finally get to above 500 after week number 5.
There you go. I like it.
Off to another division matchup as we have the San Francisco 49ers who are playing host to the Arizona Cardinals. San Fran is 2-2, Arizona is 1-3, and one quick note before we get on to our talk about this. I don't know if you heard the news about Christian McCaffrey that he has. I don't know if I can pull it up on my screen or not. I probably can't. But because he had a problem with his leg at the start of the season, that's why he hasn't been playing. Yeah. Now, whatever the issue he had in one of his legs is now affecting both of his legs.
Yeah, it's Achilles tendonitis in both legs. Youch.
And for a running back, you kind of need your legs. So this is a huge problem if you're a 49ers. The only thing I could say is, would you? I got a 2-part question before we get into our picks. Would you consider, if the doctors do claim him healthy at some point, do you put him in, And if you don't put him in, do you trade for another running back?
No. First of all, you don't trade. Mason's playing good enough as it is. It depends at what point in the season he could come back. If you let him back. Like, if he's going to be there for just, like, the very end of the season, I'd probably just wait it out. Let him keep resting. But if he comes back, let's say by week 10,
yep,
I'd probably let him try it out, see how he's feeling, and go from there.
It's very important to make sure he's at 100% because if he comes back and he gets injured again, I guarantee he'll be done for the season. So if I'm the 49ers, I want to keep him on the sideline for as long as possible until he is like for sure close to 100%. Because if you bring him back too soon and something else happens, then not only could he be done for the season, but he could be done for his career.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you and I have talked about this before. That seems like nowadays running backs have such a short career compared to quarterbacks, receivers, any other position on the field because there's such a workload. They run, they catch, they block, they do a bunch of stuff for you. It would really be crappy if we never saw him back on the field. I'm sure we will, but again, just don't rush it.
Exactly.
What's your prediction for the matchup against the Cardinals?
I'm taking the Niners.
Okay.
Ooh, score. Let's go 21-18.
21-18 sounds good. I'll say 29-24. Seems like a very odd score to me. I know, but what the hell? Why not roll the dice?
Exactly.
The next one has the Los Angeles Rams, who are 1-3, and they are playing host to the Green Bay Packers, who are 2-2.
Yeah, we're taking the Packers here. Ooh, no. We're taking the Rams in an upset.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I like that. I like the Rams in an upset. I like Stafford. He's down his receivers. He's going to make do with what he has to do.
Yep.
Show everybody who he really is. Yeah, I like that. I like that story. We're taking the Rams. 24-21. Kick to win.
That's fantastic. I'm going to be bold on this one too. I think the Rams pull this one off. Yes, they've had a poor season, being 1-3. But when you have Matt Stafford, a veteran quarterback, he's been down and out before. And I know the Packers are favored into this one, but because of how poor the Packers played last week, yes, they did make it close, but they still lost evidently. And because Love, I don't know. I'm sure he's good, but I don't know if he's really 100%, especially after that injury in week number 1. So I say the Rams pull this one off, 27-20.
I like it.
So we have 3 more matchups to go. We have the Seahawks 3-1 taking on the lonely and woeful New York Giants. And man, if you're a Giants fan, oh my God, I've said this 100 times before that Daniel Jones' contract is looking worse and worse and worse as the days and years go by.
Yep, 100%. And from what I've heard, Neighbors ain't going to be playing. So
no,
he's still in concussion protocol.
Okay.
So, I mean, with that, real simply put, I'm taking the Seahawks. They're blowing them out 31-14.
Sounds good. Seahawks 31-14. I'm going to say 30-7. I have a hard time thinking that the Giants are going to may make this interesting, and obviously losing Barkley in the offseason to the Eagles. And because they've just been so inconsistent, it's hard for me to root for this team. It's hard for me to find anything good and positive about the Giants, which is a shame because just 2 years ago they made the playoffs, beat the Vikings, and then lost to the Eagles in the division round. But Jones has only had one successful season in the 5 years he's played in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, that's just not – I mean, the numbers don't lie. Those aren't winning numbers.
No, not at all. And I know that they want him to be the guy so badly, but when to me, if someone is like Mahomes, and yes, you pay him a lot of money because he's successful, he's obviously won championships, he's won MVPs, but for Jones, I know his contract did run up. I think it was last year, the year before. That's why they paid him that big money. but you got to pay someone what they've done, not what you think they can do. And up until that contract, he didn't even make the playoffs. Like I'm pretty sure they paid him before they made the playoffs. So it's mind blowing about how much money they're wasting. Because think about this, and I know you've said this before when you talk about the Browns, if they didn't have to pay Deshaun $200 million, but whatever Jones is making, think about what they could have done. They could have brought in more receivers. They could have brought in some depth help at any other position. They could have drafted another quarterback. But I don't know. I'll never understand management. I'll never be in that position. But what I see on TV, it just does not make sense to me.
Yeah, not one bit to me either.
So probably a very interesting match. It's a non-conference matchup as the 3-1 Steelers are playing against the 2-2 Dallas Cowboys. The Steelers are at home. What's your thoughts on this matchup?
I really hate to say it, but I don't think Justin Fields is quite made for the lights just yet. So I'm taking the Cowboys because they're... Come on, it's Sunday Night Football. We know what's going to happen. Everyone hates Dallas. They're going to go in there. They're going to beat the Steelers. All them Cowboy fans are going to come out. We them boys. And guess what? They're losing next week. So, all right, enjoy your Sunday Night Football win. Go on your merry way. But I love what I'm seeing out of the Steelers right now. I just don't think that they'll get the job done in the bright lights against the Cowboys. They just, Dallas is a more experienced team right now.
Sure.
So I'm going to go... Let's go... What's an odd score? Go 23-27.
Sounds good. Sounds like a very interesting score. And it could be a close game. I'm not going to lie, but I think that this is a game that Steelers kind of fall off the wagon a little bit. I say Dak gets at least 3 touchdowns. I'm saying 34-20.
Ooh, nice. I like it. Lots of scoring.
And then maybe Zeke runs the ball in again and gets a touchdown for himself, just like the old days.
Into the Salvation Army bucket.
Yeah, exactly. They should just bring that with them, even at the away games too.
Exactly.
And the last game, I'm very surprised. The first Monday night game that there aren't 2 matchups, as we have the undefeated Kansas City Chiefs, who I loathe with all my passion, taking on a guy they're very familiar with in Derek Carr and the New Orleans Saints, who are 2-2. Who do you got in this one?
Saints ain't winning.
No?
No, I'm sorry to tell you, they ain't winning. I mean, come on now. It's the Chiefs we're talking about here. Rashee Rice, Pacheco, Hollywood Brown, don't need them. It's Mahomes. I don't know how they do it, but somehow, every week, they get the job done. And it's just by the skin of their teeth, too. I seen the stat last week. It was their last, 11 games have been decided by 1 possession. But they always squeak it out. So with that being said, we're taking the Chiefs. I can't pick against them right now, especially against the Saints. They're too inconsistent for me. So, probably going to be another deep touchdown to Worthy this week. Not too many points though. We're going to go 24-20.
Sorry?
24-20.
24-20? Okay. Well, I know I shouldn't bet against the Chiefs. Obviously, they're a very good team, and obviously, when you have Patrick Mahomes at your helm, you're guaranteed to get the W. But I'm going to be extremely bold. I've never done this type of a pick before. I say it's 23-20 in overtime. I think the Saints squeak this one out. I'll even be more bold. I think there's going to be some controversy that could possibly lead to Mahomes having like a meltdown or something. Maybe he gets pissed off at the referees. Maybe this is the one week they don't pay the referees enough money or whatever it is. But I think there's going to be some controversy. I think it'll be one of those endings that no one will expect. I think Derek Carr goes into Kansas City, a team he's always been poor against. But I think they go into Kansas City and pull this one off and end the streak of the undefeated Chiefs.
I'd like to see it. I really would. But to me, that sounds like a perfect story. It's too perfect.
Oh man, we do have a lot of similar picks, but we also do have a few that we don't see eye to eye on, especially the last one that we just went over with. But we'll see how we do by the end of next week, or I guess by the end of Monday night. So we'll definitely I'll do this every Wednesday, like we have discussed previously. So I can't wait to see how we do with our picks, see which one of us came out on top, and we'll see if I can get above 8-8, which I poorly picked last week. But I feel a little bit more comfortable, and I'm not as crazy with the picks this week, except obviously that Saints win over the Chiefs. But I think for the most part, the picks that you got and the ones that I got, I feel pretty confident that we should be pretty successful this week.
Oh yeah, I'm looking for a strong week.
Sweet. Well, I really appreciate this, buddy, but I got to get ready for work here pretty soon. So I'm very happy and grateful that we got the chance to finally find a day of the week to get this done without both of us being rushed either from work or going to there. So again, thank you as always for doing this, and
yes, thank you.
We'll touch base.
All right.
Thanks,
have
buddy.
a good one.